Good evening and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Andrew, Adam, welcome back once again. And it's happened. We called it a while ago, but Brandon Staley, head coach of the LA Chargers, very nearly said San Diego Chargers then, but that would have been so 2014 of me. Brandon Staley and also the GM as well, who the name is escaping me right now, have both been fired from the LA Chargers. Someone's going to fill me on the name.
Tom Telesco.
Tom Telesco. They are goodbye, LA. They are out of there, both of them. Andrew, we called it some while back. We said he was on the hot seat. We said it was something that had to happen for Justin Herbert and that team. No surprises here at all.
No, I said to Adam before we did the draft prospect show the other day that it's a year and 15 weeks too late, this firing for me. I think they shouldn't have brought him back, and it's the right decision. And as I've always said, when you're in Los Angeles and you've got the Rams, the Lakers, the Dodgers, USC, UCLA, you need to be viable in that state. So they need to get more fans in. They need to win more games. They need to just do things a lot better, and starting with the GM and the head coach. So great decision for them. Really, really hope that they get together and make the right decision on bringing the right personnel in, and don't be stingy like they have been in the past and go for the cheaper option and spend a bit of money and get it right.
I mean, 63-21 against the Las Vegas Raiders, Adam. I mean, they were down to 42 points at half time. It's been tough viewing, hasn't it? Especially when you've got someone who, I mean, a lot of people, one being Gareth, our editor for this podcast, who doesn't rate Justin Herbert. However, a lot of us on this podcast do rate him. It's been tough viewing this team this year because we put us included as a podcast, and many other people put so much stock into their team every year, and it's just been so disappointing.
Yeah, I think if you can end up 42-0 down against a team like the Raiders at half time, it's over, isn't it? Really, that's the end. I mean, what more can you say about it? They've made the right decision, and it's been tough for them this year, and it hasn't stopped with them going, because obviously Herbert getting injured as well. So it's like their whole season's done, and it's just a bit of a shame because there was a lot of optimism there, as there is every year with the Chargers, but it's just not happened this year again.
Not happening again. Sorry, I clearly my mum doesn't watch the podcast, though. She'd know. But we are currently in a podcast rather than giving me a phone call, bless her. So, Mum, I will call you after the podcast and after dinner. Don't worry. We can talk all Christmas and we'll arrange everything in a moment. Don't worry. Andrew, you've said it before. One of the highest paid, if not the highest paid defense for the Chargers as well. And to be just embarrassed like this. I mean, we've seen this already this year with the Broncos and the Dolphins, and the Broncos could have easily, we said that was like an anomaly result, that them sort of things are you can't judge a team by that game. Can you judge this team by this game? I mean, we're further on in the season now.
I mean, you can judge them over the course of the season, but yeah, when you're a defensive coordinator as the head coach, and you're the highest paid defense in the league, and it gives up that many points, you've got to question, what am I paying you to do? Because there's a lot of teams within the NFL. I mean, we can get into this debate a little bit later if you want, of the choices of head coaches that people need to make, and how football has moved so far forward that offensive coordinators make a difference, and defensive coordinators are just, they're like dinosaurs now, aren't they? But at least you can say, when you look at your team, Fred, and you look at Tomlin, the offense isn't popping, but at least the defense is really, really good. And that's something the Chargers can't say, can they? So when you're a defensive coordinator as a head coach and your defense is that bad, giving up that many points, it's embarrassing, really.
Dude, I'd love some popping. It's just light simmer. That's all it is. It's like when you sort of boiling the water a little bit. That's about it. There's no steam. It's just a little bit, a bubble of water, like a hot tub, but like when you just turn the hot tub on, that sort of thing. That's what it's like. But we've got big man like Mason Rudolph in this week. So, fortunes could change against Cincinnati and their backup quarterback, which we will be talking about stuff like that in a moment. But so we've talked a lot about Brandon and the situation with the LA for a few episodes. So we'll move swiftly on from that. happened over the weekend. Obviously, sorry we didn't come on Tuesday night. We had things going on, me being hungover, one of them, as you do in the Christmas period. But
yeah, Fred, you can't say hungover in December. It's just getting a little bit Christmassy. It's just getting a bit Christmassy.
Feeling festive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling festive. And Adam is tonight as well because he's got his Christmas jumper on. Me and Andrew. Andrew's in the wash. Mine has disappeared off the face of the earth, but you got your Green Bay Christmas jumper. Are you feeling festive, Adam? Is it starting? Are you a bit bar humbug?
I've been bar humbug most of my life. I'm not going to stop now. That's the way forward with Christmas. It is bar humbug all the way.
It's just an exterior because he said, "Can we do a Christmas jumper show?" It was his idea.
Yeah, it was his idea.
I thought it'd be nice. I thought the viewers might like to see it, but you failed me miserably as always. So
Bar humbug indeed. Right, we'll move on to another topic that we're talking about this evening, and there's been rumours swirling around for a lot of the season. Obviously, Travis Kelce, who's going to be a Hall of Famer tight end, obviously he was talked about heavily the other weekend with the blown call, and that he would have a career-defining highlight erased from his Hall of Fame like video, I suppose. Or even those, I did hear someone say, like, why don't you just still play the play? It doesn't matter if it didn't actually amount to anything. It's still quite an impressive feat of play. But there's been rumors circulating that maybe this is going to be his last season and that he's going to retire. And we've seen a lot of transformational tight ends in the last few years, like Rob Gronkowski retire. And this draft in particular, we saw a big transition into in the tight end position of more tight ends coming in. And we've seen it over the last few years, but I'd say this draft just gone past in April was the most amount of tight ends that went a bit higher and that were definitely talked about. So we're going to talk about this transition of the tight end position and the talent of that is coming out and the young talent that there is around the league. So Andrew, to begin with, you were obviously the big college guy, big draft guy. Are we going to see this more with the tight end position, do you think, from the college to the NFL? Because it just seems like that talent pool is growing and growing and growing. And that actually, it's not the later rounds you get them anymore. You have to sort of grab them early because teams are hot off the press with trying to get them.
Yeah, I think with college especially, a lot of these guys that don't make it a wide receiver, that might be a bigger guy, they transition to the tight end position early in their college career. And they're not really asked to block a hell of a lot in college. So they are a lot more talented when it comes to being wide receiver threats. And I think when we evaluate teams, and you can think about getting the likes of Kelce, Kittle, Hawkinson, Andrews. If you can get one of these types of guys and you can get them early in the draft, you can lock them in for 5 years. And then after that, they're only costing you at maximum what your highest paid tight ends are like around 15, 16 million a year. Whereas your highest paid wide receivers are like 30 million a year. So half the price, you could have a key impact, massive playmaker on your team, like Adam was going to bring up. I know he's going to bring him up, like Sam Laporta. I mean, Dan Campbell was mocked about the choices that he made in the draft of going running back, tight end, linebacker. But they're 3 positions within the league that are very low paid. And if you can get them right, hats off, big clap. Sam Laporta is going to be, what he's done this year isn't a fluke. It's well thought out, well picked, well selected, and that guy, as we'll probably get onto next generation, this key position, Brock Bowers coming into the draft. Adam mentioned in one of our group chats, it's not stupid to think of Brock Bowers as a number 2 pick in the draft. We saw a stupid mock draft, but it's not stupid. If you can get that position right and you can lock in a key weapon for that long at that cheap, it's the way forward.
Do you think also, Adam, that we've said this about a lot of the positions in the draft, in the NFL, and with college players coming into the draft and going into the NFL now, probably better prepared and more likely to succeed more than ever. Does that mean that the development of the guys that we've seen so far that have come out this year and in years gone by and how good they are already, it doesn't surprise you that some of these guys are impacting the team so much?
No, not really. I mean, it does feel very much that the college game is coming into the NFL more and more. It feels like that is what's happening. That's the way it's going. I think we'll probably talk about it when we talk about quarterbacks later on as well. It's like it does feel like that is kind of happening. That's a common occurrence now in the last sort of 5 years, to be honest. When it comes to the tight end position, yeah, I mean, there's so much that's come through, and kind of a position that's felt a little bit of a dead position in the last few years. Like you say, it was very much Gronk and Kelce. Gronk's gone, obviously. Kelce looks like he could be on his way at the end of this season. Maybe he'll play one more, who knows? But he's not going to go on forever. And he does it. To me, it feels like he's lost a step this year. It does feel like he's done that. So yeah, I think you're starting to see that, like you say, there is less blocking from the ones in college at the time, but it's clear to see that they are they're sort of changing as well. They're big, but they're athletic, and that's something that you didn't get like 10, 15 years ago. So I think that's the biggest change. They don't have to block. They can be like hyper wide receivers, if you like, just sort of without the speed. But even then, they're still pretty quick. So yeah, it's definitely starting to eke in from the college game, I think.
The only thing I would say is that I see Carl Pitts, tight end at the Atlanta Falcons, was drafted quite high, Andrew, and we've not. I don't think he's really lived up to the hype that he had at Florida, where he came out of Florida Gators. Do you think that's just situational with him, or do you think that? And also, has it set a precedent where when they do get that much hype, the team still won't be picking tight ends in that top 15 to 10, well, top 10 bracket, really? Are they still, because this year we had five tight ends were picked in the second round, which I don't know if that's a record or not, but I assume it's not a record. It doesn't say that here. But it's obviously a large amount of players from an individual position in the second round. Do you think that maybe still in the back of the mind, teams won't overly commit to it in a high pick?
I think the sensible ones will. I think Carl Pitts is still a phenomenal talent. I think he's underutilized. I think it's just situational, like you say. He's landed in a team that hasn't got a quarterback. I think Desmond Ridder is useless, and it's just a shame that Carl Pitts has fell being partnered with him. And I think if they get someone in that can throw the ball, then he will elevate and be better. But I think when you look at some of the other names that have come in over the last 2 years, me and Adam did a whole show at the back end of last year about the amount of number of tight ends that were impressive last year. And then again, this year, we've seen it again. We even saw Adam's Green Bay Packers go in double for the tight end position. And both of them have been a massive impact in their organization and their franchise, and are just going to grow that offense with so young. But like I said, it's a no-brainer to take them early. I'd go earlier. I think they should start valuing it more than second round. I mean, second round is great value, but like I said, to lock a guy in, if I said to you, Fred, do you want a wide receiver for 30 million, or do you want Travis Kelce for 15? What do you want? What do you want in your team? The Chiefs have made how many years successful with him being the main threat, bar Tyreek Hill, who's not there, and then they proved they could still do it. So do you want a tight end for 15 million at the top end, or a wide receiver at 30 million when you've got to pay your quarterback, you've got to pay your left tackle, you've got to pay your edge rusher? What do you want if you were a GM, Fred? Do you want this super skilled tight end, or do you want to go high on this wide receiver?
I think you're right about the tight end. I think they just bring so much. I mean, the blocking thing is something I'd probably put more importance on than maybe some people. For example, with the Steelers having Pat Fryman, I know I rate Pat Fryman very highly, and there's other people that don't see him as high as I do. But I think he does do everything really well. I think he does block really well. He does pass catch really well. And also he plays the safety valve well. And the more rookie quarterbacks we see come in this league, we say it all the time, every rookie needs sort of their go-to person. And what better than someone like a big-bodied tight end? And it works for so many teams, and it's right for so many teams. And it's clearly working. I mean, we've seen some of these tight ends come out now. Dalton Kincaid, big example. He was a first-round pick, but Dawson Knox, last 3 years, has been incredible for Buffalo. He's been really well, and on the cheap as well. And then they've drafted a tight end to take over from him. And Dawson Knox, we've not really heard much from this year so far. I know Kincaid's having a very good year, but maybe not as elevated a year because the team has struggled in certain elements and they didn't really get the offense going. But yeah, I think you make it a really reasonable argument that the tight end position you should probably focus on more rather than paying that excess money to a high-end wide receiver. And again, to the point, if the college guys are so ready coming into the game now, there is more wide receivers than there are tight ends coming out of college, so you can be a bit more selective and picky, I suppose. Adam, many tight ends, like I said, came out in this draft. It didn't have to be from this draft just gone. It can be ones that have come out recently in the last few years. What tight end have you been impressed most for has gone in from the college game into the NFL, and you think that will maybe make the most impact in years to come?
I think it is difficult to get away from Laporta and what he's done this season. But if you want to get away from him and go for someone a little bit different, I think Trey McBride over at the Cardinals. I think you've got a monster of a guy there who I know he's kind of been the only sort of weapon really in the last few weeks, but you're seeing he didn't play much in the first year. He developed, and now in this second year, he's done really well. He's not really got loads of touchdowns. He's only got a couple this year, but he's got a lot of targets and a lot of receptions. And he's shown at the back end of this year that he's going to be someone who can develop with Kyler Murray if they decide to keep going down that route.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but Kyler's been using him as his safety valve.
Yeah,
Kyler's
absolutely.
Go-to guy to get out of trouble. And he has been way better under Kyler as well.
Yeah, and I think that you're probably going to see that will continue to a certain extent going into next year as well. And although it kind of makes sense based on where they are, that there's a very strong chance they're going to go for Marvin Harrison Jr., it doesn't really matter because you're still going to have McBride there, and it's just another weapon, and where everyone's going to go to Harrison, so therefore McBride can be open, or the vice versa sort of thing. So it works on both sides. Yeah, he's looked very impressive this season. I would be very surprised if he dropped off now. He just looks like he's going to be one of them tight ends that's, as the old guard is starting to go and the new ones are coming in, it feels like he's going to be one of the very top of the new lot. So yeah, he's looked pretty good this year.
I mean, he's had a little bit of tutelage under Zach Ertz, hasn't he, as well? Because Zach Ertz was briefly in Arizona. I'm sure he learned a lot, and I always get the impression on interviews anyway, Zach Ertz is a player that would teach you. He's not keeping to himself. He's a guy that would teach you things. I think he's really done well, and he certainly has been exciting. And I'm sure for fantasy owners and dynasty and stuff like that, stashing him away has been nice, because I'm sure at times they were thinking, oh well, it's not really much of anything, and now he's coming up, and we're seeing that he can be a real threat there for Arizona. And like you said, I think it does help him that there's not really any other weapons. It does help him that he's sort of rising to the top. Obviously, you got Marquise Brown there, Michael Wilson, not much really else there to other than him being that big body guy for Kyler. What about you, Andrew? Well, on the flip side, who you've been really?
It's been a bit of a shame for me this year, because I was really looking forward to three guys mainly. It was Greg Dulcich, Jelani Woods, and Chigga Kwonkwo. I was really looking forward to seeing the development of those three. Two of them have been on IR all year, and Chigga Kwonkwo has not been relevant until Levis sort of came in, and he's kind of last 3 or 4 weeks been a bit more relevant. But when we look at a couple of the older guys, I agree with you, Fred. I love Pat Fryermuth. I think he is leading the youngsters, bar Sam Laporta, of being up there. And Cole Kmet as well. I think he was the start of this transition. He was one of the first ones to kind of come on the scene and go, do you know what? This is the new style of tight end that could come out of college. So, yeah, just think I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dulcich and Woods can do. when they're back to full fitness, and hopefully we can see some of those 2022 draftees fit and healthy again, because it is an exciting position. I think it is one to watch as well.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about Travis Kelce in a minute, but what tight ends do we need to look out for coming into the draft next year? I mean, both of you have got really great college knowledge, so yeah, you can
as we've
debate between each other.
Previously said, Brock Bowers is, I think he's probably a blue chip player. He's going to go very, very early, as we've just said across the whole show. If you can get a guy like him, he's going to improve your team, push it forward, and could be a generational talent at that position going forward. I really like Cade Stover, being an Ohio fan and seeing a lot of him. I think he's been a fantastic receiver over the last couple of years for them. This year, I think with Brock Bowers getting injured, for me, Cade Stover's been the best tight end for college this year. He's at 6'4" and 251 pounds. Who doesn't want that guy? He's a great receiver. There's a couple of other guys. Don't know whether I should leave some to Adam. I know Adam's probably a Jaheim Bell guy. I know that he's very, very, very talked about. And Jatavion Sanders as well is another big name coming out. But let's see what Adam's got in his locker and who he really likes, because I'm Cade Stover all the way.
I wouldn't come to me because I haven't seen any of them. The only one that I've really seen anything of is Bowers, obviously, because of how good he's been at college. So, I mean, he does come across as though he is it. Like, he's the guy who's going to be, if there's going to be a first round guy, it's going to be him. The rest of them aren't going to be near the first round. So yeah, that seems like that. The main one. So if you can get him in your team, then that's going to be great for that team. But yeah, as for the rest, I haven't really looked at them yet. So
there's a guy, just before we cut, if we're going away from college, there's a guy I really like, Spamford at Minnesota. He's 6'7" and 270 pounds. He's an absolute unit. I think
there's going to be
spam
like the ham.
No, as in
Stan.
SPANN.
Span. Okay,
yeah,
like wingspan. I thought you said spam as in the meat, like the tin meat.
And I think if he goes to the combine and shows up quite athletic, I think there might be some buzz about this guy, because he's an absolute unit and has had a decent year at Minnesota. So it could be interesting to see what he produces.
So just for people that don't know, if they are looking and want to have a look at these players, because their teams might be interested in what schools are they at. So Brock Bowers is Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what about the other two gentlemen that you said?
So we've got Jaheim Bell at Florida State, Cade Stover at Ohio, and Jatavion Sanders at Texas. So a lot of big schools, a lot of guys. You can still see a couple of them in the playoffs in college if you're interested and want to tune in. So polls are still on as well. So I think all of them will be playing over the next week or so. So you've still got a chance to see them at their college.
Oh, that's good. Well, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that, because it's always interesting. And I have seen a few mock drafts having Brock Bowers in top 5, top 10 position. So if he could easily go that high, I mean, obviously all these players are going to get a lot more buzz and hype and drive around them post Super Bowl, and that's going to be. And also as well, we've got free agency. There may be some movement in there as well. So it's certainly going to be really interesting. Just lastly, Travis Kelce, Hall of Famer, surely greatest tight end of all time. No,
arguable. He's set all the records.
Yeah.
He's set a lot of season records year on year and beat his own records. I think he's in the conversation. I think it's just the rings, isn't it? You can't get away from Rob Gronkowski's rings, can you?
I don't think he's beat his touchdown record either.
No, and then it's really hard to go back. You're looking at Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, measuring up against those guys. Kellen
Jason
Winslow, maybe. But he's definitely been impactful for the game. He's definitely been generational to we're now doing a show where we're talking about tight ends because of him. I think we're talking about how good that role is and how much your organization can benefit because of him. So I think for that, I think he'll be a Hall of Famer. He's more interested in Taylor Swift marrying and having kids and settling down, isn't he?
To be fair, he's been. I mean, him and his brother's podcast is smashing loads of records. They're always at number one. They're doing really well on that. It's really fun. They obviously have the connections in NFL to get really great guests as well. And I know, obviously, Jason did the big documentary that he was then going to retire, didn't retire, obviously released a documentary. So it could be, I've got a feeling if they're going to do it, they'd ride out into the sun together. I think it's sort of got to that. They would have, I think at the end point, the only thing, but I think would have been a bit more poetic is if they did it last year, against each other in the final, both announced retirement together, like next to each other on the podium sort of thing. And that would have been quite
Still
poetic.
not off the cards this year?
Still not off the cards, I suppose, but I don't think that'll happen. I don't think the Chiefs will get to the Super Bowl myself. So, right, let's move on to another topic, and that is the backup quarterback position, the position that a lot of people think about. A lot of people don't really know about, I suppose, because you go, well, I've got a star quarterback. Why do I need to care about anyone else's quarterback on the team? However, as we have seen this year, injuries have happened. Injuries happen before season, in season. And it's not just the backup, it's even the third string quarterback you need to worry about these days. Like, I think never in history has it been so highlighted that you need depth at that position as well as having a star. Just very, 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 very quickly, looking at the AFC side, we've seen Jets and Rodgers go down. We've had Zach Wilson there. We've had Tim Boyle there. We've had the New England Patriots that have changed in Bailey Zappi for Mac Jones. Not an injury, but that has happened. Gardner Minshew, who came in for Anthony Richardson at the Colts. We've had Davis Mills had to come in for CJ Stroud, who was with a concussion. Tennessee Titans, but Ryan Tannehill going down in London. We've had Malik Willis and Will Levis come in as well. Not Baltimore. The Cleveland Browns with God, this is my knowledge of deep diving. Joe Flacco, DTR, the other guy, I can't remember his name. Josh Johnson, was he there? No, maybe not. Jake Browning over at the Bengals, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky at the Steelers, Aiden O'Connell over at the Raiders. And then on the NFC side of it, you got Mr. DeVito himself, the pride and passion of this podcast the other day. We got somehow named the starter? No, he was named the starter, right? The start of the year?
Yeah.
Okay. The Falcons have been rotating Taylor Heineke as well. The Vikings traded for Josh Dobbs. I've also got Nick Mullins at the weekend. God, this is such a deep dive.
Did they get Jalen Hall as well?
Jalen Hall, yeah, as well. The Bears, they had. I'm running out of gas here. Pageant, yes, Tyler Pageant. Yeah, he came in. Drew Lock coming in for Geno Smith over at the Seahawks. And don't help me with this one. It's the Cardinals. It was Josh Dobbs, but then it was McCoy. No, Colt McCoy got cut. Who was it?
It's a rookie.
It's a rookie.
I want to say Hall.
No, he said
No.
Jalen Hall.
Clayton Tune. Oh,
Clayton Tune.
Took me too long to get there.
I'd have never got that, to be honest with you. I'd have completely got that. But as I've just long listed there and my deep delve of NFL knowledge and sport there that I've managed to remember, so I'm sure I've definitely missed people as well. That was a long and lengthy list. It surely proves that the backup quarterback position now is more important than it has ever been, Andrew.
Yeah, it's something that I was talking to Adam with when we did the preview on the prospects for quarterbacks. And we were talking, it was a top 10, but then so many of them have decided they want to return or go into the transfer portal. They became a top 9. And I felt like all 9 were relevant to the draft, all the way down, just for the sheer fact that when you evaluate what's happening in the NFL, and it really made me think about 5 or 6 shows ago when we were talking about what Tom Brady was saying. I feel like now I've had time to process it. The game is the best it's ever been because the defensive players, the edge rushers, the interior defensive linemen, your Aaron Donalds, people like that, are so athletic and so much more advanced than they were sort of 10, 15 years ago, where they were just big guys who could get to the quarterback. They've come such a long way. And the offensive line, for me, hasn't kept up with the D-line. They're just big guys that can stand up and make themselves look present with long arms. Whereas the defensive line, edge rushers, D-line, are so athletic. You're going to get, these quarterbacks are going to get sacked so much more going forward. And that, for me, has meant that your head coach, your GM, and the whole organization has got to go, we need to really think about how we value the backup quarterback position based on this year as well, and how much money we've got in the pot to spend on a really, really talented backup. Because at any point, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson, if any of them go down, which is very possible from what we've seen this year, your team is then no longer viable to a certain extent. So I think you've got to look at the draft every single year, even if you're sorted at quarterback, even if you've got a guy that's going to carry your franchise for the next 10, 15 years, you look every year in the draft and go, is there a backup this year? And what position can I get him? Do I need to go round 2, round 3, round 4? I need a guy every single year. And I think they really need to look at that, because that is the cheapest way you can make sure that your team is going to still win games if your quarterback goes down. So I think it's now become, in my mind, a position you now need to really, really focus as a franchise and really pay a lot more attention. You can't just go, just get that undrafted guy. We just get this veteran that's been around, bounced around the league for 10 years, because it doesn't work. We've seen it. They come in, they're not great, the team's rubbish, and they just go, we'll just write this year off. But that's not a thing anymore. So I really think it's good to do your research.
What do you think, Adam, was the precipice for this change? Because in my mind, I think it's when Carson Wentz goes down and Nick Foles takes over for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that definitely set a tone of, just because you lose your star. Because Carson Wentz that season was incredible. He was so good that year. And some people said that he took them to the Super Bowl. I think their whole team was really good that year. But Nick Foles came in, did a job, and played really well. Do you think that may have been the beginning where franchises started to have a bit of a change?
I think it shows that you can have a second quarterback who can do the job. That's the thing. I think with that, it's sort of like the one issue that you could probably say is, as Andrew said, it's like what recent history was before all of that was, never mind, that's the end of that year. Whereas for now, I think by having someone like Foles be able to take over and they can still go and win a Super Bowl, that does kind of show that you don't have to be the one who's, you don't just have to have the one guy. If you've got two guys, then you can still carry on. And so I think that probably does show that you need to have that second guy who's worth it. Some of them, I think, probably don't have that, but then I guess it depends what situation they're in. If they're a team that are looking to rebuild and develop, then they're not really looking to be in the Super Bowl that year. They don't necessarily need that second guy because it's not really what they're trying to achieve anyway. So I think that's where it's a little bit different. I don't think you necessarily need to be getting your second quarterback every year, but I think, as Andrew said, you definitely need to be looking in the draft and trying to find one that is a solid option that can keep your team moving. And then if you can get that in the draft, you've got that for 4 years, haven't you? If you're going later on in the rounds, and you can keep that and develop him, and hopefully it'll be okay. And then once them 4 years are up, if you've still got a really good starter, you don't need him, you bring in another one. That's kind of how you got to look at it, I think. So I suppose it's basically insurance, isn't it? It's keeping your team moving when the main guy has gone down. And I think you've seen it with a couple of these. Like you said, Nick Foles, it works really well for the Eagles in that particular.
Brock Purdy?
Yeah,
Brock
exactly.
Purdy's
This is
the
the thing.
success story
He wasn't the chosen one, was he? Really, it was Trey Lance, and look at how that ended up. And now you've got him in, and it's worked. So I think that goes to show that you can find these guys, and there's lots of them out there that are capable. It's just a matter of doing it. And I do feel that the way that the NFL has developed, as Andrew said, the edge rushers a lot more athletic than what they used to be. The O-line not really developing as athletically is a big problem. But also, I just think if you're going to have more rushing quarterbacks, you're going to get more quarterbacks hurt. So that's the other one, and it feels like it's something that they do need to take more note of now.
Do you think it's a wise choice that if you are, let's say you have a Lamar Jackson. Now we saw Lamar Jackson go down, and their backup quarterbacks always have very similar styles and traits to Lamar.
Yeah.
Do you think it is better for teams to sort of have a bit of a polar opposite quarterback to the one they have, with different fundamentals, so that they become a bit of a harder team to match up against, Andrew, that they can actually change the dynamic of their offense so easily?
No, I'm on board with getting someone who's similar, because you want to be practice running your playbook, and you want your backup to then be watching film and on the sidelines after every play with the main quarterback, learning what he did and what went right. You don't want to be getting halfway through the season and going, well, we've got a pocket passer, not a scrambler. What's the new plan? Let's draw up a load of new plays, and then you back up then having to learn a whole new playbook. And maybe your offensive coordinator, maybe your quarterback coach just isn't set to, especially when you bring up the Ravens as well. Obviously, when they had Greg Roman, didn't they? It was a very specific style of football, and I don't think that fit for every style of quarterback. So I think it's key to get someone who fits your attributes. But I think what we're seeing from everybody who's looking for the attributes of a quarterback from college now is that dual threat. They've got to have that kind of factor. I think when we spoke about Michael Penix, who I absolutely love, and I had him graded at the third best quarterback, but realistically, he's not the third best, because Jaden Daniels fits the attribute of the modern day quarterback more, because he's got that dual threat. So I think when you're looking at that prospect and you're looking at quarterbacks coming out, they need to tick all these boxes prior, and you don't just get the old statues of yesteryear of your Mannings and your Bradys and things like that, and you move on from that, and we'll live with the times.
Yeah, you don't want no Big Ben in your team anymore. That's for certain. Not that he's keeping quiet about his opinions about anything with football at the minute. But, right, let's move on to a little bit of fun. It's Christmas time. It's a fun time of year. It's festive. It's enjoyable. It's full of joy and family. So I'm going to be very kind. This is Santa Fred here, or I know Fred the elf on the shelf. Fred, I don't know. I'm one of these things. Anyway, I'm going to give us each 2 Christmas wishes for the NFL next season. Well, next year. They can't be for our team. So you get 2 wishes each of what you'd like to use your wish on. Adam, I'll start with you. What's one of your Christmas wishes you would like for the NFL next year that doesn't involve the Green Bay Packers?
So my first Christmas wish has got quite a few things to it that need to happen in order for this to work.
Also, this section, we've got to say, can NFL UK not steal, because this is so up their street. And I'm sorry if you don't, if you think that this is childish or whatever, get over it. This is what we're doing to have fun. We talk serious all the time. This is our fun time. It's Christmas.
I'm going to say the Atlanta Falcons owner to. Yeah, I mean, I'd had a look. I didn't realize that Arthur Blank is as old as he is. He needs to do this now. Get rid of Arthur Smith, because he's bloody useless. Bring in Ben Johnson from the Lions and draft Jaden Daniels in the first round. There you go. Sorted. I've sorted it out. I feel they've been stuck since they lost the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Do them 3 things, you'll be fine.
You wouldn't say trade for Justin Fields. You'd say go and get Jaden Daniels.
No, I'd say go and get Jaden Daniels.
Is that because you think Jaden Daniels is better than Justin Fields?
Not necessarily. I mean, we don't know Jaden Daniels in the NFL yet, but I think that by doing that, you have a quarterback on a rookie contract, which gives you 5 years on minimum money. So I feel that would be better for them. They could then spend that money elsewhere. They've got some great weapons. They've just got a coach who doesn't know how to use them.
Great mustache, though. Rival's mine.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really high on the list of Adam's priorities, but yeah.
You make a fair point. Andrew, what about yourself? What are you asking Santa for this Christmas?
Well, I kind of I've got obviously 2 things that you asked me to bring, but I thought I wasn't allowed to bring one for my team. Mm-hmm. I bring one for one of your teams.
Oh,
And I wanted to bring one for Adam's team, and I want them to sack Joe Barry and
Hey!
pick up whoever gets fired in the off season of Eberflus, Allen, any of these guys who are the head coaches and defensive coordinators, for them to go, I want that guy, get me an absolutely incredible defensive coordinator, because the offensive weapons and youngsters that they've got, I feel like the Packers could be good again. If they could sort out, they've got some good defensive players. So I want you to go out there, be bold, and go and get one of those really top end defensive coordinators that are currently head coaches. That, again, yesteryear, defensive coordinators being head coaches. Get rid of that, and Packers jump on the bandwagon, get one of them, and become viable again.
Did you see the game against the Bucks? I mean, they go on about how amazing Baker Mayfield was. Oh, perfect passer rating. There was no one near any of the blimmin' attackers. I mean, what the hell? Evans is just standing there going, yeah, all right. Oh, thank you. It's like there's no one there then.
He doesn't exactly need help, Mike Evans, does he, to be good? Because he's good already. So,
well, yeah, exactly. You don't need the help.
My Christmas wish would be, can we finally get somebody in the LA Charger organization to get Justin Herbert to the heights that he should be reaching, that he should have reached 2 years ago. And this team should now be in the conversation for things like AFC championships, because I just think it has been such a tragic waste of talent and talented roster as well. To have players like Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert on the offense. We know that, like I said, like Andrew said earlier, they've got one of the highest paid defense. They've got some superstars on that defense. Of course, they have Bosa, Khalil Mack. But it is so criminal that we've not seen this team do more. And we've said it every year. We say it every year before the season starts, but this could be the year for the Chargers to have a really good push. And I said that, I think I said that about 5 years ago outside of the Wembley Stadium to a Charge fan after Charge fans. And Andrew laughed at me, and there was a lad next to me in a Chargers gear, and he went, "No, you're a joker, mate. You don't support the Chargers. We never get anywhere. We may look good, but it never happens." It's finally time to cut some of them players from slack and get them to the heights of which they should be reaching. So we're just going to get this Justin Herbert's a stat quarterback, a Twitter quarterback, ex-quarterback, I suppose. And it's boring. The guy's so talented. It's such a waste.
Well, the Spanos family, I think Dean Spanos and his son John Spanos, haven't they come out and said that they have taken on board the things that they've done wrong? They agree that they haven't done it correctly, and they're going to go after someone more experienced as a head coach. So,
John Harbaugh City.
Frank Wright, here we go.
Frank Wright, here we go.
Jim Harbaugh being
the
coach, or are they being stupid and getting Bill Belichick? I don't know. He's a favorite, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really? Is he a favorite? Mm-hmm. No way. They're just getting another defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah.
Adam, you got another wish? One more for us?
I was really stuck between the two. I saw the video of Pete Carroll. I put it in our group chat, and I was like, I'd really like to see him win a Super Bowl. I think that it'd be nice given that. But I'm gonna go for your one, Fred. I want to see change at the Pittsburgh Steelers. It needs to happen. And as wonderful as Tomlin has been, and as wonderful as that record has been, it's too defense orientated. It's so hard to watch. Again, as we've spoken about, these defensive coordinators being head coaches, it's tough. And I just want you to have some offense in your life, to be honest. That's all. Just a little bit.
It'd just be nice to sit down on Sunday and go, I'm going to see some excitement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to be like,
I don't know how you do it. I applaud you.
Well, you know that I do like defensive side of the ball as well. So some of it that is enjoyable to me. Some of it, but this team pushes me to the point where I'm like, but I'd like to see some offense as well. Like I like it on defense, but I'd like to then see us react. Like we win the ball back now, and I'm like, so what? We're not. Nothing's going to happen. Yeah. With 4 and out, great. Okay, all right. Well, we'll go 4 and out next. So it has been a tough watch.
I put in the group chat the other day, Tomlin going to get fired at the end of the year. It fell on deaf ears. No one replied to it. Fred,
it won't.
Is there some mutual agreement where they go, I think it's done, we're not really moving forward? And if that is the case, let's say he goes, let's say the Chargers go, do you know what? We really like Tomlin. We're going to have him. He's experienced. We'll give you a draft pick for him. Who would you like to see at the Steelers?
Well, coach-wise?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, it would I know it won't happen, but it would be nice to try and think about Eric Bieniemy. It would be really nice, just because I think he's really good, and I think it would be a complete change as well. And he's been tutelage under what is a great head coach in Andy Reid. I mean, I wouldn't hate Harbaugh. You know, I think Michigan as a university and the style they've played in over the years is very, very similar to the Steelers at times. You know, some very, very good defenses there and some exciting players in offense. And we do have that. I know Kenny Pickett isn't the exciting player, but, you know, George Pickens is exciting. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Frymouth, Johnson, they are exciting players. So someone like that would be great. I would prefer younger. I'd like, and I think if they were to do it, they would pick someone that maybe no one would have ever thought of. I think we won't be able to predict who they would pick, because I think it would be, I don't know. So it wouldn't shock me if it was someone like a Kellen Moore, and we'd be like, what? Hang on a minute, what's going on here? But then they keep him for like 25 years. So, yeah. What about you, Andy? You got another wish, Andrew? I've got one more wish.
I have, but briefly on that. What you've just said, I think the Eric Bieniemy one could be onto something a little bit there, because I think Bill Belichick is more suited to moving to Washington than he is anywhere else. And I think Bieniemy would be like, well, I want out then because you've not given me the job. So, you know, that could be a thing. My other wish, funny enough, you're all going to go, typical. I want Justin Fields to find a new home and be the starter. It's my big wish. I want it to be the Seahawks. I want the Seahawks to go out there and say, Geno Smith is not the future. Drew Lock is, despite the fact of his best game he's ever played and will live on that forever, is not going to move us forward. But we have good O-line. We have a good run game. We've got lots of weapons. Let's go and get Justin Fields and see if he can turn us around and elevate us and move us forward, and get rid of Jamal Adams, because he's a problem. So yeah, I'd like to see Justin Fields find a home, and I'd like it to be the Seahawks.
That's very good. It's not my NFL team, but my last wish, and I'm going to do it really quick because then both of you can't have a go at me, is that I'm going to potentially get to 2 finals in 2 fantasy leagues against all of you, and I'm going to win both of them. Dynasty, redraft, I'm going to win. Merry Christmas. Thank you for supporting us all year. We really appreciate it. Have a fantastic Christmas and New Year as well. We've got plenty of content coming out. We will have some content over the Christmas period. We've got a very good your QB video for the college. Sorry, what was the name of it again?
It hasn't gone out yet. It's just basically going over the prospects for the QBs coming out next year. That'll come out soon, and obviously we've got the betting show as well coming out on Friday and the week after, I believe. So.
Swell. We'll do a few. We're probably not going to do the main show, but we'll put a few things out there for you guys to enjoy. Andrew, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Adam, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. To all of you out there, enjoy your holidays, have fun. Don't drink too much, but drink enough to have fun. Enjoy the football, have some great food.